Have you ever pondered on the role America plays in international politics? It's a fascinating topic and one that's especially pertinent in our contemporary global landscape. Let's take a look at how countries like Spain navigate this terrain. Spain, though not a border state, has shown remarkable involvement in international affairs. But at the core of their approach is a fundamental reliance on the United States for security. This reliance allows them to engage more freely in international politics, knowing that if something goes wrong, the United States will be there to step in. This trust in America's role as a global guardian is not unique to Spain. It permeates throughout Europe, creating a dynamic wherein countries can play fast and loose with international politics, while America pays the price. But it's not all sunshine and rainbows. We've witnessed 2 decades of the war on terror and the war in Iraq, and during these times, America's allies didn't exactly step up to the plate in the way one might have hoped. Regardless of whether one views these wars as justified or not, the disappointment from the American perspective is palpable. And now, with the collective acknowledgement of Russia as a global concern, the United States is stepping up once again. Yet it's not water under the bridge. The recent history of collaboration, or lack thereof, has left its mark. Aside from substantial weapon transfers to Ukrainians, there is a sense of stasis, of waiting for America to act. Meanwhile, the United States is still in a cycle of rest, recuperation, rearm, and retrain following the wars on terror. This state of affairs doesn't necessarily resonate well in Washington. Despite these challenges, from a foreign policy point of view, the United States is probably more united now than at any time since 2002. In essence, America serves as an international security blanket, but at what cost? Let's jog back 2 decades to the War on Terror and the Iraq War. These conflicts, regardless of personal stance, left a deep footprint on the international stage. For 20 years, America was entrenched in a battle against terror, a battle that demanded immense resources, human and otherwise. As America fought these wars, it looked to its allies for support. Yet there was a palpable dissatisfaction with how these allies responded. The United States didn't feel the robust support it expected, leading to a sense of isolation in its global endeavors. This sentiment, as one might imagine, didn't bode well for future collaborations. The War on Terror and the Iraq War were not only battles fought on foreign soils, but they were also battles fought in diplomatic halls. Allies were expected to step up to shoulder the burden alongside the United States, but the reality to many Americans fell short of this expectation. This shortfall had a ripple effect, causing a strain on international relations. The spirit of global unity, of standing together in the face of adversity, was tested, and in the eyes of many Americans it was found wanting. This strain on relations wasn't something that could be easily mended with a handshake and a promise. It left a lasting impact, casting a shadow on future collaborations. Even as the dust of war settled, the tensions remained. The United States entered a phase of rest, recuperation, rearmament, and retraining, a period of rebuilding. Yet the world didn't stand still. International politics continued to evolve, with allies and adversaries alike waiting to see how America would act next. And so the war years left a strain on international relations. The echoes of these conflicts continue to reverberate in the halls of international diplomacy, influencing decisions, shaping alliances, and casting a long shadow on future collaborations. The aftermath of the War on Terror and the Iraq War continues to shape the world we live in today. Now, America finds itself in a rest, recuperate, rearm, and retrain cycle. This cycle is not just about healing the physical and emotional wounds of the War on Terror, but also about redefining the nation's role in the international arena. The past 2 decades have left a profound imprint on the American psyche and the country's political strategies. It's a time to reassess, to learn from past experiences, and to forge a path forward that is both strategic and sustainable. The world, however, doesn't seem to want to wait. Other nations, some playing fast and loose with international politics, are sitting back, waiting for America to step up once again. This expectation for the United States to shoulder the responsibility of global security is a familiar tune, one that has echoed across continents for decades. Yet, this expectation doesn't resonate well in Washington. The city, like the nation it governs, is weary. The cycle of recuperation and retraining is not just about rebuilding a military force, it's about rebuilding trust, credibility, and a sense of shared responsibility in the international community. The strain of carrying the weight of the world's security concerns is heavy, and America's desire to share that burden is evident. The challenge lies in persuading other nations to step up, in nurturing a collective sense of duty, and in redefining the rules of global engagement. In this cycle, America is not just rearming its military, it's rearming its strategies, its policies, and its stance on global affairs. It's a time of introspection, of learning and unlearning, of realigning priorities and reassessing alliances. As America navigates this cycle, the rest of the world watches with bated breath. Every move is scrutinized, every silence analyzed, and every decision weighed. The outcome is uncertain, the path ahead uncharted. But one thing is clear, the world is watching, waiting, and wondering what America's next move will be. The world watches as America retools with anticipation and uncertainty. The next chapter in America's international role is still being written, and the world waits to read it. Let us explore the current state of U.S. foreign policy. It's a fascinating time, to say the least. Today, one could argue that the United States is more united in its foreign policy than at any time since 2002. That's right, more united than in the past 2 decades. This unity, ironically, has been largely thanks to external factors, not internal cohesion. It's interesting to note that this unity isn't born out of complete agreement on every policy detail, far from it. Instead, it's a collective understanding that the world is changing dramatically and that the U.S. must adapt its foreign policy accordingly. This has led to a common goal, a shared vision, and a unity that transcends party lines. A crucial factor contributing to this unity is the perceived challenges that the U.S. faces on the global stage. From the rise of China to the assertive stance of Russia, from the ongoing climate crisis to the persistent threat of terrorism, these challenges have forced a re-evaluation of how the U.S. interacts with the world. The unity, however, does face its own set of challenges. For one, there's the question of how to translate this unity into effective action. There's also the matter of balancing national interests with global responsibilities. And let's not forget the need for consistency, a trait often lacking in the realm of foreign policy. But perhaps the biggest challenge comes from within. The United States has a complex and often divisive political landscape. Bridging the divide between different ideologies and interests is no easy task. It requires skillful diplomacy, strategic thinking, and a willingness to compromise. Despite these challenges, the fact remains, the United States is more united in its foreign policy now than it has been in a long time. This unity is a powerful tool, one that could shape the course of global politics in the years to come. As unity strengthens, the U.S. foreign policy begins to take on a new shape. It's a shape that's still forming, still evolving, but with each passing day, it's becoming clearer and more defined. What might the future hold for American politics? That's a question that's been on many minds, especially with the shifting sands of political dynamics. When it comes to predicting the future, we tread on uncertain ground, especially considering potential administrations and their respective leaders. A case in point is the unpredictability of Donald Trump. Trump's administration, should he return to office in the near future, presents a wild card in the deck of American politics. The unpredictability stems from his unique approach to decision-making, which often appears impulsive and unscripted. The unpredictability of Trump's actions is a defining characteristic, making any attempt to predict his political moves a challenging endeavor. One of the main concerns is how personal biases may influence policy decisions. For instance, during his first term, it was clear that Trump had a personal disliking for Ukrainian President Zelensky. This could potentially impact future policy decisions, especially in the context of international relations. Trump's approach to decision-making often seems personal, and this could lead to abrupt changes in policy, for instance, halting weapon deliveries to Ukraine. However, it's important to remember that Trump's unpredictability extends beyond his personal biases. On any given day, his decisions could swing from one extreme to the other, leaving policy analysts and foreign leaders on their toes. This erratic behavior presents a challenge for predicting the future trajectory of American politics and its impact on international relations. In the end, the future of American politics remains a puzzle with many moving pieces. The potential return of unpredictable leaders like Trump adds an additional layer of complexity. Despite the uncertainty, one thing is clear. The future of American politics, unpredictable as it may be, holds significant implications for international relations. Whether these implications will be positive or negative, only time will tell. Until then, we watch, we wait, and we continue to speculate. So, where does this leave us in understanding America's role in international politics? We've explored America as a security blanket, the impact of the war on terror and the Iraq War, the ongoing rest and recuperation cycle, the current state of U.S. foreign policy, and the unpredictable nature of future political actions. All these factors shape the international political landscape and America's place within it. As we navigate these complex political landscapes, understanding America's role becomes increasingly significant. Let's keep the conversation going.